Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, weather continues to be the main topic of the day this weekend as it is affecting so many cruises. So right now there is a tropical storm that's hitting around Florida and it's heading up the East Coast, about to hit Carolina, and it has been affecting all kinds of cruises. In fact, the port of Miami had to close on Sunday, even briefly, a few hours, not a whole lot of time, like not a couple days because of an incoming hurricane or anything, but it was just too windy to bring in cruise ships and passenger vessels. Everybody was locked out. They couldn't come in or out. Well, what does that do? Well, that affects cruises coming in to drop off passengers and pick up passengers, which also then relays over to the airports and the airlines because now they have passengers screaming to try and get home because they could not make their flights. Wow, and how many passengers? How many passengers do you think were potentially affected by this storm on Sunday and the delay? Up to 60,000 cruisers. Now, all of them aren't jumping on a plane, thankfully. Many are staying in the city, many are from the area, many drove to the cruise port, but there are quite a few that take the plane and fly off. They came in from colder climates, etc. And yeah, it's a complete mess, shall we say. It just kind of compounds everything when there's a delay like this because they send out messages to people and say, hey, don't come to the cruise port until such and such a time. There's a delay. Please don't do it. But people tend to go there anyway. And then they get there to park their car. Lo and behold, there's no parking spaces because the people on the cruise ship haven't gotten off yet and left the parking. So now you have this big lineup of people trying to find parking, as well as people trying to drop people off and pick people up. And then you have the people trying to get to their cars to get off the ship and leave. And it's just like, it's like that. It can be an absolute nightmare. The best way to do it is to stay away for as long as possible and then head to your cruise. If you get a notice on your phone that's saying that, yeah, we can't start boarding till 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, don't show up at 10, don't show up at 9. You're just going to add to the problems that have been going on, and there are a ton of ships out there that were hit with this being a weekend, of course. Tons of cruises leaving on that day, and it was just a bit of a logistical nightmare. Now, I do have one cruise that in particular caught my eye, and that was MSC Meraviglia. And yeah, she's heading to Bahamas. She's heading on a Bahamas cruise. December, you can expect some pretty nice warm temperatures. Get away from the cold. Out of New York, right? Get away from the cold. Nope, not going to happen on this cruise. In fact, not only are they not getting away from the cold, they're heading into a colder area. That's right, they're actually heading to Boston, just down the road, shall we say, just down the seaway from New York, and they're going to stay there until Tuesday, and then they're heading off to Portland, and then eventually end up in St. John in Canada. Well, that's not the Bahamas. That's as far from the Bahamas as you can get on a local cruise, on a 7-day cruise. So their itinerary has completely changed. And by the way, by the time they arrive in St. John's, the temperature is supposed to be near freezing and raining. So they may actually get a little bit of freezing rain and snow while they're arriving in St. John's. Now, I don't know about you, but if I'm heading to the Bahamas or, you know, Puerto Rico, Nassau, I'm heading to someplace warm, Mexico, I'm packing t-shirts and shorts. And if they divert me to Canada in December, I'm not exactly dressed for that kind of weather. No idea of any kind of compensation offered or anything like this right now, but yeah, it really can be a drastic change when that you have to head in the complete opposite of your planned itinerary. It's one thing to say, oh, we can't go to St. Kitts, so we're stopping in St. Thomas. Or we can't go to Mexico, but we're going to Nassau. They're both kind of warm clients. You're going to be fine. I experienced kind of the same thing one year where I had booked a transatlantic Norway cruise, and it was going to be chilly in Norway, so I brought some sweaters and I was ready to go. It was a transatlantic, so you dress warm because it's windy out in the ocean for a transatlantic in the fall, and I was all set for it. And then a hurricane was coming up from Canada. We couldn't go, and so we headed off to Spain, and in Spain it was 105. And so I was in sweaters and everything, so I bought all the t-shirts you could possibly buy in a souvenir stores to re-outfit myself. I was walking around when I love Vigo, Spain. I was that guy who looked like a tourist because I had to buy all these kind of clothes on that trip because it was a completely different temperature, area, climate of where we were heading. And so I'm curious to see, I know we did get compensation for that. Princess gave us back, I think, close to half of our money back on that cruise because it was billed as a Norway transatlantic cruise. And we didn't end up going to Norway. We didn't end up going to France as well. We ended up running to Spain to avoid the hurricane. So they gave us some compensation. I don't know if MSC is going to be offering any kind of compensation on board yet. Nothing's been announced, but boy, that is a drastic change, and I feel sorry for those folks. But again, it's all about safety. The storm is heading down that coast now. It's passed over Florida. It had record rainfall in central Florida. One report came out saying that it broke the record for rainfall in central Florida for this time of year by almost double for a single day's rainfall. So just let you know just how much that weather is affecting the area. And so cruise ships have to be aware of this, and they try and keep us in as calm of seas as possible. And in this case for MSC, the calmer seas were in Canada. Hey, we're going to the Bahamas. Oh, that's Fenway Park. Oh, that's not the Bahamas. Oh, well, you have to laugh, folks, because that's life. Things are going to happen. You have to roll with those kind of things, and you just can't let it get it down. And hey, you're on an East Coast Canadian cruise now. So why not enjoy it and see what happens? Who knows? You may fall in love with that type of cruise. Or you may say, it's freezing here. Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.